Hello, everybody, and welcome back. I know everybody is watching across all platforms. Timeout Talks is brought to you by Chase and Thrills, custom t shirts and accessories, and is also sponsored by the Ice Shaker, the only bottle you will ever need. Go purchase your Timeout Talks apparel via www.chaseandthrills.com. And just want to throw a quick little plug in there. You can also get Timeout Talks merch / apparel on Amazon. I have been meaning to drop that link in there. So I will definitely get you guys. If anybody wants to know, you know how to reach out to me. It's not the biggest deal in the world, but quickly just want to throw that plug in. You can also go on Amazon.com and order shirts like that, literally as fast as you can order any other item or anything off off Amazon. So I want to throw that one out there.
Amazon.
And as you guys know, you guys can purchase your ice shakers at www.iceshaker.com. We have some exciting news for the Ice Shaker coming up within a few weeks. It's been a while since we've done a giveaway, so I just want to give you a quick little tease on that. That will be happening soon. And as always, every show, I just wanted to welcome in all of our Facebook viewers, all of our Twitch viewers, Twitter, and YouTube. We're streaming on a bunch of different platforms now. It's been like this for a couple months now. Super excited about that. And quickly, I'm going to mention this again late at the end of the show because I know you guys love our faces and we're not on screen. Everybody panics, as they should. So enjoy us tonight because next week, Timeout Talks is taking a Labor Day weekend break next week, so we will not be live next week. Just want to throw that one out there. But like I said, we have a giveaway, so I guess or a giveaway coming up, so I guess that kind of makes up for it. So we'll get to that. We'll get to that during the week. We'll make a post about it. You guys will be very informed. However, Ben, we have an action-packed show tonight. Very football heavy. But first, we're going to kick things off with the Gallinari injury and how that affects the Celtics. Me and Ben are going to dive into that. Then we're going to touch up on some fantasy football insight. I know you fantasy football experts have been dying to hear our Timeout Talks takes. We will get to those. Maybe you might not want to hear my take because I was talking to Ben in the pre-show. I am projected 10th in our league. Whatever. Projections don't mean anything, even though I am a little hurt by that. But whatever. I digress. And to end this show, we are going to get to a nice little surprise thing that we just quickly added 30 minutes before the show. We didn't even publicize this. Overrated and underrated NFL players. Stay tuned for that. We've got some juicy hot takes for those. We got some stuff. I seen a couple that Ben has posted. He has no idea who I've posted. He's got some surprise picks as well that I'm excited to get to. I was actually scrolling on Facebook and I seen like ESPN had like a bunch of people who I was just like, whoa. I couldn't read the full article because, of course, everything's subscription now. But overall, I'm excited for football, Ben. I'm rambling. But we're not going to start things off with the fantasy football insight. We're going to switch things up. This past week, Celtics went out. They got Danilo Gallinari, but he was hurt. He suffered a torn meniscus. The timeline is looking close to late November, if maybe even December. Ben, how does this affect the Celtics moving forward?
I was a little worried at first. Once you get this torn meniscus, that's a little scary of an injury. But here in this late November, Josh, like you just mentioned, I'm totally fine with it. I'm cruising now. We're fine. It's gonna be back for the most part basketball. We'll get him well rested for that time. We don't even get an injured mid-season like when he'd be returning. So we got him for the playoff push mid-season. So I'm fine with this. At first, I was pretty scared. That's like I mentioned, it's a serious injury, but hearing that late November return date, all good right now. So Celtics fans and Jerry can calm down. We're all good right now. Just hold off on this injury bug. But it's just a little sad to see him already get injured. I like to see this team, be out there in the full force with them to begin the season. But as long as we still got Brogdon, I'm ready to go. And it's not too devastating. He's going to be a role player, Gallinari. But I just like to see this team in its full force. But We gotta be patient now, Josh. We gotta wait, unfortunately.
You summed it up perfectly. I will say we've talked about this a lot last year during the season and even in the off season. I think it definitely hurts because they went out, they got him not as a defensive player. I know most of the players are they buy into that system. Gallinari, let's be honest, Ben. He's probably one of the worst defenders in the league right now at his age. That's fine. That's not his job. He's out there to score. He's out there to grab rebounds. Basically, maybe one of our first options off of the bench. That would kind of be his role. However, like you mentioned, and as I mentioned as well, he suffered a torn meniscus. Timeline is kind of shaky. I know they mentioned November, but overall, I think that this is an injury that will impact the Celtics, but you beat me to the chase there. Going out and grabbing Malcolm Brogdon has been huge for the Celtics. I'm pretty sure there's been rumblings about him coming off the bench for the Celtics as well. So as much as I would love to see Gallinari's offensive help and as much as he could be an offensive asset to the team, we're going to have to push that on hold. Overall, I do think it hurts the Celtics, Ben, because, we went out and got him because if you look at that finals run, you look at the playoffs run, we got a little stagnant, put a lot of pressure on Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. Things started to go a little awry. You were calling on guys like Grant Williams, Peyton Pritchard, and Derek White as well. It didn't really work out so well. Those guys kind of fanned out. So I think initially adding Gallinari was probably the second biggest thing the Celtics did this offseason. And I know they didn't do too much, but again, it's one of those things where we'll be fine. I still think big picture here, our aspirations are the championship, NBA Finals run again, but it stinks, Ben, because off the bench scoring options, or even if he was to plug and play with injuries, maybe he could have even started sometimes. We're going to miss that scoring asset from him. But I personally don't think that they're going to make a move before the season or even during the season. I do think Brad Stevens and company believe in their roster. That's why they didn't do too many crazy shakeups and bring in Kevin Durant and everything. So I think they stand pat, Ben, and I think it's, I'd say it like, it is what it is. I know that's kind of like, for lack of better terminology there, but offensively, we could have used him, but it's not like he's done for the whole season, or at least that's what we're being told. Who knows? Anything can happen, especially at his age, but yeah, it is what it is.
No, I agree with that, Josh. It's just, we need him to lessen that load later on this season. We don't need him to start it off. We'll have everybody figure out their bearings once we get in the beginning, so that'll sort of help in that regard. But we just need him to lessen the load at the end, like you mentioned. JB and Jason were doing a lot at the end, and Derek White and Grant Williams had their moments, but those guys can't do it the whole season. Those guys aren't going to show up the whole season like we saw. You mentioned Pritchard. Didn't really show up at all at some points, so hopefully he can show up. But yeah, we're bringing Gallinari, great bench guy for the Hawks, helped out that team greatly. Just the 3-point shooting, we needed that. We lacked that clearly against Golden State Warriors. So getting that 3-point threat with him would be great. So right now, yeah, we're chilling, we're hanging out. Not too bad right now. Like I said, as long as I was just trying to avoid a full season injury right there. For him, because we're going to need him in the playoff time. The East we're going to make the playoffs. The East isn't as weak as it once was, but we're still pretty much the top dogs right now. Top 3 teams over there, so I'm not too worried about that. We've got some depth, and those guys can come out during the regular season and have their games. It's just when the playoffs come, we need a little more depth, just a little more. And those additions of Brogdon and Gallinari, I thought were going to put us over the edge. So. Hopefully he comes back healthy. Hopefully he doesn't lose anything, but this will be some good opportunity for some more playing time for some of these younger guys. Just get the flow of the game in there for them. So I'm just sad to see it, especially like we've been mentioning, torn meniscus is a tough one. So, they said late November, probably find his footing, a couple of weeks after that, it's going to take him a couple of games to get you into the rhythm, into the flow of this offense. So overall, like we said, Josh said, it is what it is. Hate to say it like that, but unfortunately it is. There's really nothing else we can do with that. You just got to hope for the best with him in his recovery process. And I still like the addition. I'm still not going to take it back, but hopefully Grant Williams and some of these other guys can fill the role for the time being.
And I think that's one of the biggest things is for the time being. You know, the Celtics can't do what they did last year, Ben. Everybody knows, every viewer watching, we cannot have a cold start. Last year, it was like under 500, chasing 500 for the first couple months. That cannot happen this year. With Gallinari, without Gallinari, with Brogdon, without Brogdon, the Celtics have to be way over 500 and have to have a hot start. I think that's one of the most important things. Obviously, losing Gallinari is going to make that more of a challenge. But hey, as you mentioned, Ben, as I said as well, the aspirations are championship. One guy shouldn't deter that too much. And as you mentioned, he's going to be back late November. We're going to get him back. All hopes and optimism from what we've heard so far is that he's going to be back soon. So we just got to hold on tight. But I think we're both on the same page here, guys, in terms of where me and Ben see the Celtics this year. I think, at the very least, conference finals championship appearance in terms of my satisfaction. Ben, I'm seeing him nod his head. I'm sure he agrees. But overall, we've got plenty of time. We're not even there yet for the basketball preseason and training and everything. Obviously, they're training, but you know what I'm saying. Football is more in the swing of things for that. And we are actually going to pass the torch over to football in a second. But before we do so, let's just get to some comments. Not super comment friendly tonight, but that's okay. We're going to hope some friends maybe join the show in a little bit. Look at this. A first timer for Jeff Warren to kick us off in the comments. So quick little shout out to Jeff from Facebook. He came in saying, pretty good Ice Shaker ad from Gronk this week. I see those all the time on Instagram, Facebook. You know those phones are listening to us and they're showing them on our social media so we could see them. And then two comments about live shows. One from Jeff saying that people are begging for a live show, and Patrick utilizing our YouTube TV coming in saying live show. As we've mentioned, and as you can see behind Ben's setting here, Ben's back home. He's got a different setup. He's got more lighting. He's got better lighting than me, actually, now. So we are one step even closer to a live show. As I mentioned earlier, we're waiting on the Ice Shaker. We're waiting on the live show. We've got some small moves happening. Don't worry. I promise, I guarantee you, we can promise you guys a live show during the football season. So
just give us some time. We just got back. I just got back. So we gotta give us some time. We'll find a location.
Oh, 100%. And hey, if anybody knows anything, anybody has any plugs, anybody wants to do a little merge here, we're looking to promote while also use the utilization of going and having a live show somewhere.
Yeah, dude.
I know Ben feels the same way. Drop some type of... yeah, we got a couple comments here. But yeah, drop some type of... feedback or any type of place that we could potentially go live. I know we had the Deanne's
suggestions,
one, and that was great.
Yeah.
Deanne's one was great.
That was great.
For our first one ever, I thought it was great. Obviously,
shout out Deanne's.
Yeah, shout out Deanne's. Maybe we make that run back again. But yeah, actually, you know what? We're gonna kick this fantasy football talk off right now. As I mentioned, I finished in 10th place, so I'm just gonna let Ben answer this one. I'm not even sure who this is or if this is a troll comment. So if this is a troll comment, bear with me. You've trolled me very well. But James Davis coming out of YouTube TV saying, man, I really think Isaiah Pacheco is going to surprise a lot of people in fantasy, dude. Has so much speed for a running back. I have no idea who that is, Ben. Hopefully that's not one of our first ever, random trolls. That'd be hilarious, James. I'll give you a tip of the cap if it is. But Isaiah Pacheco, no idea who that is. Maybe it's an undrafted guy, Ben, but beyond me.
No, I'm just looking to slide into. Yeah, I guess he's on the Chiefs. So no offense to Saria, Jake. That was also my first time hearing his name. It's looking like he's trying to slide into a big role for them. I know they got Ronald Jones over there, obviously Clyde too, Josh, but I guess he's making a name for himself.
And I actually don't. James actually coming in here in saying the running back there. That's an interesting one. Didn't even know, especially with Clyde Edwards-Helaire kind of rolling down here. I know some people have takes on him. Personally, if we're just going to open this with some fantasy football insight, I would stay away from Clyde Edwards-Helaire earlier in the earlier rounds. Production went way, 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 way down last year. And if this Isaiah Pacheco kid can actually ball out, which who knows, I've never heard of him, that brings the production even more down for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Ben, let's kick off the fantasy football insight with a couple things here. I'm just going to turn to you. Obviously, in our draft, we already drafted, so Ben maybe he's got some other drafts. I don't want to put him on blast here. He doesn't want to give away all his secrets, but
not yet,
Ben,
not yet.
If you could give away a take for a player with value that you would want to get in the early rounds, like based off of the name, like, a very popular player that people should be looking at early, you could give a sleeper and then you could give a bust. So I guess what I'm trying to say here is you could give a safe pick, a sleeper, and a bust for the fantasy football upcoming year.
Yeah, we're going to avoid that comment from Aiden, who just came in on Facebook. He's looking for the 10th, the best picks for the 10th overall. That is actually my pick in next week's draft, or this week's draft, I should say. So as Josh was mentioning, not all my drafts are done yet. So I'm not going to, I'm going to give my honest opinion. I'm not going to, fantasy football, if the picks get taken, the picks get taken. That's what you got to roll with in fantasy. That's what you got to put out there. But I'm not going to be listening. I'm not going to say who I'm really going to go with there because, every fantasy draft's different. So Aiden will eventually get an answer on that. Maybe not tonight.
Playing the board, Ben. Playing the board. 10th pick, that's what you do.
Playing the board. But as Josh mentioned, I was a part of one fantasy draft already and just one player that I'm loving already. Just name, you can probably get him around. It's a little sleeper. I wouldn't say sleeper for the name. But sleeper for the production, I think Juju's going to have a really good year. Juju Smith-Schuster over a new home in Kansas City. I know we got Sky Moore over there, Mecole Hardman, obviously. Travis Kelce's going to be the number one. But I'm just going back to some of those days with Big Ben and Juju. I think he's got the production. He's still young. He's still got plenty of athleticism. And, he's still got plenty of years left in his career. Kind of, rough end in Pittsburgh, but we sent him off right. Injured in his last year, but got that final game in there. So I think he's just going to skyrocket with the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes. Going to play that little slot for him, and Mahomes is just going to, pepper him with passes. I think he's going to be the next big thing for them over there. Obviously, just factor in. Kelce is going to be the number one over there, so don't bank on, Juju being this crazy guy, just going off for you. He's going to be the number two over there. But, number two for Patrick Mahomes is a lot of wide receivers number ones in many fantasy cases. That's the amount they throw the ball over there. So I got him over. I got there's a little sleeper one over there. Just watch out for him. For a bust, I'm going to mention him a little later on too, but Samari Cooper. This is going to be a big one for me. We're going to see him a little later on for me too. I'll give a little more expanded conversation on him too, Josh, but I think we just got to stay away from him and everything. Fantasy, real life. It's just a bad situation with the Browns right now, with Deshaun not being there the first 11 games. I believe he comes back for that Texans one, so it's just the protection is not going to be there for the whole season, no matter where you draft him. So I just, you got Jacoby Brissett over there. He's not really going to bring that fantasy production. So I'm staying away from Amari Cooper and everything. There's no value over there for him right there. Just a tough spot. Listen, next year it's going to be totally different, but we got to see how Deshaun comes out and plays as well. He didn't really look too good in preseason, so we got to factor that in too. But think of another one. This isn't too much of a shocker, Josh, but I'll give two guys, actually, my two good running backs that just watch out for. They're not going to be, well, I was going to say Alvin. Alvin's going to be up there. Alvin, I think, is going to have really a sneaky year. Could even be the number one running back. which is everything they got going on. And Nola, Jameis finally getting those weapons. They can't just load up the box. Kamara's going to give you that receiving threat too. So I mean, everyone knows I love those Saints wide receivers. So I mean, that offense is just going to be explosive. I think he's going to have huge fantasy value with that. Be a big time get for anybody. So I know people are usually going, obviously JT, King Henry. People sometimes, I've seen people wait, just like in our draft, Josh. People wait to get McCaffrey, but I've also seen people take him with that 3 picks. So I mean, I think Kamara's gonna have a better season than McCaffrey. So I got Kamara there, and I got a little Nick Chubb over there. Yeah, everyone's always hating on him, I feel, for some reason. I feel like he's always at the end of the first round. But they're just going to run the ball the whole time with Brissett. I know you can just load up the box and everyone's just going to focus on that for the Browns, but I think Nick Chubb's going to have a really good year just because, they're going to be forced to run the ball all the time. It's kind of like what happened with sort of Najee last year. I mean, Najee, didn't have 2 great rushing yards. I mean, to look at, I mean, it's combined, they looked pretty good, but looking at the games, each game individually, it was just tough. We just gave him a bunch of attempts and he just piled up that yardage. And I think that's going to happen with Nick Chubb, the targets and everything like that. And they're just going to feed him the rocks. So I got Nick Chubb and Kamara, some guys early, obviously some star names in there, but I think they're going to really just be some of the steals of the draft, give you some of that 1 or 2 potential. Over there. So especially I like that Nick Chubb. Everyone knows I don't like to give any love to AFC North players, but I think just the volume for him is going to be too much, and it's just going to be too much for fantasy owners to pass up on. I think he's just going to deliver with that. I know he's still got Kareem on over there, but I think Kareem's on his way out there. They're looking to trade him. He's not too happy with that situation. So I got Nick Chubb, and Alvin Kamara. So everyone knows those names, but just watch out.
Yeah, just to kind of piggyback off that too, I like what you did there too. You added in, I forget who the first player was because you've mentioned a lot, but
I threw out a lot there, Josh Amari.
Yeah, you did. It was Amari was one of them. I know you were even saying like in terms of production value and being a bust. It was Juju. Yeah, Juju, you mentioned Juju.
Yep, sorry, Juju.
And
sorry.
he was
Amari
saying
Amari. Sorry, Josh. Amari got on the top of my head. Amari. Everybody just avoid Amari. That's my big one right there, Josh.
I'm one of his biggest fans, and I would have to agree. Sadly, as it is, there's more to even get into that, and I'm sure we're going to be hearing a lot of his name during the season because that's just one of the frustrations that I had with the Cowboys season. But as Ben was mentioning too, I like the Juju one as well. I think I will say though to challenge that, I do think that the Chiefs are going to be a lot more spread out this year because they don't have like a true number 1, and I know Juju has never really stepped into that true number 1 role. He's had his concerns with that, but however, when you're on a stacked team like that and you have Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce alongside you, and McCole Hardman, who is very underrated in speed, and Patrick Mahomes, one of his go-to guys, definitely helps to open up the field. But I was going to say, originally, I like how Ben mentioned Juju. He's a household name, plus kind of a sleeper this year. I mean, I know a lot of people haven't had him like super, super high up on their list, so I like that one. 2 people, this is going to be a double doozy, just a team I would stay way the hell away from is the Seattle Seahawks, DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. I've had both of them last year. I had Tyler Lockett for multiple years, and I think both of them are very similar, actually. Not in their play style, but in their fantasy production. One goes off 1 week, one takes a couple weeks off. They're interchangeable. Plus, who the hell is throwing them the ball? I don't trust that Seattle Seahawks team whatsoever. I think Rashad Penny would be a nice little sleeper because he's going to see a lot of carries. I know in the past, he's been kind of highly touted, but didn't really work out. I think now's a real chance to kind of revive himself, especially with the absence of Chris Carson, who also retired and was kind of shaky for a little bit last year. But that's going to open up some more options. So kind of hitting the double whammy there. Rashad Penny could be a deep sleeper. One of the biggest question mark guys, but can really pay off. I took him a little early in our draft. That's Travis Etienne Jr. Just the package in terms of I know James Robinson's kind of their go-to guy, but you look at that Jaguars offense, you look at a new head coach. I forget who it was. I'm pretty sure it was Dylan who mentioned this, and it was actually my good buddy Kyle Owen. They both mentioned one of the most important factors in Travis Etienne and why they drafted him in general. That's because that's Trevor Lawrence's buddy. The double doozy there for those two. They played in Clemson together. I think having a little bit of familiarity in the backfield would definitely help Trevor Lawrence as well. So that's one guy that I took him a little early, but if he does fall, maybe a 12-man league, running backs go really fast. I think that's a guy who is kind of a big question mark, but can really, really pay good. So that's kind of an eye to look out for. And I think he could be... No, this is just a small example, but Jonathan Taylor's first year, he didn't really break onto the scene as he did last year. He had a very solid year, and I don't want to minimize his rookie year by any means. But I think it could be something similar to that, where Etienne had a injury last year that kept him out the whole season, early in the season last year, unfortunately for the Jaguars. But I think it could be one of those things where he's living off the name a little bit going into it, where people are kind of hesitant, but it can pay off pretty well. I know we've seen the same for Jonathan Taylor in his first season, even though he was kind of splitting a bunch of carries with Marlon Mack, I think even Phillip Lindsay. There was just a bunch of people he was splitting carries with. But overall, those are some guys that I definitely like. Another person, I agree with Ben here, is Alvin Kamara. I do think he has the potential to be one of the number one running backs. I will challenge it, though, to say one thing. I also think there's a lot of weird stuff going on. I have this weird gut. I wouldn't do what Dylan did. Dylan really was ballsy and took him at the fourth pick. Hey, it is what it, or the third pick. It is what it is. We've seen Josh Allen go off the board in that draft, which has been a big controversy in our fantasy football group chat. But I like Alvin Kamara, but I have this weird, I'm just nervous that a suspension's going to come down. I think it's going to be very similar to the Zeke situation where, Zeke played the whole first season without a suspension, kept what's the word for it? Kept appealing it, and then eventually he ran out of appeals and, got shot in the foot, just kept pushing it back, and it finally caught up to him. So I like Alvin Kamara, another guy who kind of answers the question that I first asked, which was, a guy that you can get at a strategic point in the draft, big name, and you're going to get your value out of him. So that's one guy I do like. However, I will say, bold, my biggest bold prediction here, kind of my last thought for the Fantasy Football Insight before we kind of switch gears. I made a parlay here. These two guys, I'm going to go off on a bold prediction, and this is actually what I went out and did. And plus another guy. I'll just say Justin Herbert, I think, is going to have a huge year. Big fantasy guy. Seek him early in the draft if you can. A reasonable round. Don't go Justin Herbert in the first round, please. Don't do that unless you're in a crazy quarterback league. But two guys here that I think you really can't pass up on, and I actually parlayed these two, and the odds were really, really good. Josh Allen, as always, we know that. I think he's going to lead the league in passing yards. Parlayed that. But Justin Jefferson, I think he's going to be the best receiver this year coming into the league. I personally would draft him first if I even had the opportunity to draft a receiver. You look at his first two seasons, it was unbelievable. He had 1,700 yards or 1,600, or I think it was 1,400 yards his first season. Same thing his second season. He's unbelievable. He's a reincarnation of Randy Moss. So I will say, bold take. Take him early. I might even do it in one of my other fantasy football drafts. Not a lot of people watch the podcast that we know of that are in that draft. I have the fourth overall pick. And I'm thinking about nabbing him early. I really am. I'm really tempted because
Josh.
That's very questionable. I probably will go running back when it all comes down to things. But I love Justin Jefferson so much this year. I am so high on him. I really might take him with the fourth pick. So there's a bold prediction. There's a bunch of busts. There's some sleepers. And yeah.
I love it. Josh, spot on too with the yardage right there, 1,400 and 1,600, 7 touchdowns that first season, 10 touchdowns too. Josh, spot on with that. Listen, I love Justin Jefferson too. He's a dog. He's the best. But listen, fourth pick, I like going running back heavy, but I'm not gonna yell at Josh for that. Justin Jefferson. One, watch out for Rashad Penny too. He's got Kenneth Walker behind him as well. So I see Josh laughing at those comments. I love these comments coming in, bro. We got to get to see this football. It's great having football back. It's great having everybody getting into this. But yeah, I mean, listen, that Justin Jefferson one, I love him. I think could be one of the best wide receivers. I just love watching him play. So I definitely would say use a high pick on him. Maybe go Cooper Kupp. It's either him or Kupp, him or Jefferson, I should say. So, but no, I definitely love that pick right there, Josh. I'm fully on board with it.
It's one of those things where, like, you have that, like, gut feeling. That's my gut feeling. I know Jeff is right. I'm sorry for excusing me for Charlie. He's saying Josh assuming 2 of the top 5 overall fantasy players will play very well. Bold. Yes, very bold. I think I'll rephrase it. Going for him with the 4th overall pick in the fantasy draft, I think that's definitely bold, especially as Ben mentioned with the Cooper Kupp. I probably should have rephrased that, but overall, I parlayed those two together for most. It was Josh Allen and Justin Jefferson for most yards and passing yards. The odds were actually great. I think it was like 20 to win 1,200, so why not? Justin Jefferson's been very close.
And Josh, sorry to come in there. I don't know what Ian's talking about. Hardman on the Bears. I don't know where you're getting that info. I don't know if you're on a specific website because he's still on the Chiefs, everything that I've seen. So maybe you're thinking of Darnell Mooney or somebody. But I think that there's Romo. There's Romo in there. But I think even if you got Tony Romo throwing it to Juju's going to put up some stats over there. Now, hey, listen, Romo is a good fantasy quarterback. Romo slung it around there. Romo got the guys their targets. He's taking Byron Pringle. There we go. I mean, listen, Byron Pringle's all right too. He's going to help out Justin Jefferson. He's going to help out Darnell Mooney. Watch out for Darnell Mooney too out there. Real life and fantasy. I think he's just going to be a great receiver besides fantasy. And then Nick DeVos to come in there echoing your concerns, Josh, too, with Kamara. Listen, I don't think he's going to get suspended. It's kind of tough. Like Josh said, I mean, you could just go down that Zeke road with appeals, or, I'm hearing that he doesn't even get suspended, but you really never know with the NFL. I mean, they gave Ridley a whole year and Sean only 11 games. So it's kind of a little tricky with the NFL and how they decide punishments. And she bringing up Juju's already been hurt. So I think it'll be good. I think all the weapons over there are going to help him out. They'll sort of see some of those Pittsburgh years because of all those weapons over there and making sure he's just not the number one guy.
We got Aiden coming in here. Kevin O'Donnell out of Purdue will be a top 10 tight end.
Now he's just saying things. Nobody knows who Kevin O'Donnell is.
No idea.
He's just saying that. I'll look him up after too. But now he's just trying to get back in good graces after he messed up that Byron Pringle one. But hey, watch out for Pringle on the Bears.
I like it. I know the Bears have been waiting for Mooney as well. Like, when is he going to break out? We're waiting on that. Also wanted to say, Nick DeVos, his comment earlier completely, I don't even know why I let it slide. Jake and Joe's. What about Jake and Joe's? That'd be awesome. I go there all the time. I don't know how we would do the setup, but that would be, if they let us, that'd be sick. Could definitely make that work. So might have to think about that, reaching out to them. That'd be talk about a live show back, Jake and Joe's Wall fan. That'd be fun. But yeah, fantasy football. If you guys have any comments as well, throw some in. We're probably going to move forward here in the show with the overrated, underrated, because we've got some guys we want to get to. And as I mentioned, we're going to be off next week, so we're going to get our last, our final chance to kind of recap the off season. Recap the training camp. I know the Cowboys made some interesting roster cuts today and yesterday that we can get to. Ben might know more about the Steelers. Patriots cut third round pick a couple years ago, so we'll get to that. But overall, fantasy this year, I think it's one of the most I think it's a very tough year. Beside once you go Taylor, I know you can kind of figure out the first 5, but a lot of the guys are interchangeable. I think a lot of the receivers are kind of not unproven, but guys like Michael Thomas are shaky. You've got not a receiver, but even Alvin Kamara is a guy that I would take a risk on. It's kind of taking a risk. CMC, Dalvin Cook. The list goes on and on and on. Even Jamar Chase, can he have as big of a season as he did last year? Yada, yada, yada. There's a bunch of different storylines we can get to. But overall, I'll finish it with this. Justin Jefferson, if you get him in your league, you will not be disappointed. I really hope. I really might go off on a limb and get him. I really might. So we'll see. I'm feeling antsy. I got the 4th pick in that draft. It's 4 out of 12, so I might not do that to myself. But I don't know. If I'm triggered enough, I will. We're going to move forward, though, in the show. Probably one of the most, just talk about, like, really brings passion out of people, overrated, underrated. I'll kick us off with an underrated player, and that's Tyler Boyd. You look at Tyler Boyd, I've talked about him before. I actually even wrote a little article about him when I was in college. In his first 6 seasons, I'm just gonna completely read off StatMuse here, so bear with me. 388 catches, 4,000 yards, 571 touchdowns, and has a total of yards, and has a total of 24 touchdowns. I think that this is a guy who, yes, you can make the argument, falls under the category of maybe being the 3rd best receiver on his team. I know T. Higgins is very underrated as well. But this is a guy real deep underrated. He's been, a multiple-time 1,000-yard receiver. He's had to go through hell and back in terms of having quarterbacks. Obviously he has Joe Burrow in his guy, but deep sleeper, a guy who, kind of gets forgotten about. And I know in our fantasy football draft, people were calling him trash. I wouldn't say that as well. This is a guy who, besides his second year, his first 2 years, has been like a fringe, pretty close to 1,000-yard receiver. So I know his productions went down in the last 2 years, but just a deep underrated player in my eyes.
Man, Josh, I definitely agree with that one. I was one of those people yelling at Tyler Boyd during the draft, but that was more for fantasy production. Listen, I love him as a player. Great blocker, too. Very underrated in that aspect. I'll go under with one of my underrated guys, Cordero Patterson. I'm going to start off with him. I think he's just a do-it-all guy over there. I added a little fantasy flair for some of these guys, too. That's just another great guy you want on your fantasy team, but I think he's just a great player. Running back, stepped into that position last year for the Falcons smoothly, and it gives you that wide receiver option as well. So I think Cordero Patterson's really was underrated last year. He's had a really underrated career. He's proved that he's more just than a kick returner last year on the year prior. So I think people are giving Cordero the proper respect he deserves. And watch out for him in the fantasy. Listen, I'm going to give you the fantasy player too at the end every time. So watch out for him in the fantasy drafts. Put him in any position. So I'm taking that guy fantasy or real life any day of the week. Love to see him in a Steelers uniform.
I like it. Gonna move forward here in my next one. This guy right here, dude. Unbelievable. I think I actually have an opposing safety who gets talked about way more than this guy. Justin Simmons. This guy is probably one of the most underrated football players in the whole league defensively. Year in and year out, he just does his thing. Look at this. He's got a total of 21 interceptions. He's got like 3.5 sacks, almost 350 tackles in his first 6 seasons. He's got a fumble recovery. He is what I would call the anchor in that secondary for the Broncos. And just, again, he got his pay. He got his due. I'm glad he finally got his paycheck. But, I chose him in reference to someone else who is brought up way more than Justin Simmons and a safety position. So, quick little sneak peek there. But I love this kid. I wish Dallas. I know everything's Dallas, but I know there was like little rumors that Dallas would maybe make a trade for him. It was when they were the Broncos were giving up their whole defense. But this kid, love Justin Simmons. I think he is probably one of the best defensive players in the league. Very underrated.
I love that one, Josh. That's a great safety over there. Justin Simmons definitely the anchor for that Broncos defense. Ever since Von Miller left over there, I'm going to stay on the offensive route. I'm going to go Marquise Brown, formerly Baltimore Raven, over there in the Cardinals. I think he was just underrated over there in that Ravens offense. It's a very run-heavy offense. I believe is Greg Roman's offense coordinated. Obviously, you got Lamar and that trio of running backs. So they're always focusing on that, aspect first. But I mean, he was Lamar's guy. I mean, obviously you got Mark Andrews, and he's obviously I'd probably say he's more of the guy. But I mean, when you're looking for explosive plays and just to move the ball down the field as well, it was Marquise Brown. And obviously they got rid of him, I think, because of the scheme. It wasn't going to fit. Like I've been mentioning, they're a run-heavy team. They just run first and then pass after. That's just what Greg Roman does over there. So Brown doesn't really fit that scheme, and I think he's fallen into a great place with Cliff Kingsbury, Kyler Murray over there in Arizona. He's gonna have a huge year, I think, for them, especially with D-Hop being out. And I think that's why they brought him over here to Arizona. They saw that talent that he has and saw the value that he brings. And like I mentioned, D-Hop, fantasy player. He's gonna have a great 6 weeks to begin. So watch out for him right there. I love that situation for him. I think he's going to really prove that he's been underrated over in Baltimore. He's going to prove his talents out there. And, they got that Oklahoma connection too with Kyler Murray and those two. So I think that's going to really bring his talents out even more.
Like that one there, Ben. I actually couldn't agree with you anymore. I think he could fit very well. Pair him up with Rondell Moore as well, as you mentioned. Yeah. It's an explosive backfield. I think he's a little overrated. So that's funny how we see differently on that one.
I like that, Josh.
This guy, I'm going to read you his stats before I even show you who he is. I want to see if Ben, I'm actually going to see if Ben can get this one. His rookie year, he was an 1,000-yard receiver. He's gone over 1,000. Actually, you know what? He's gone over. Actually, no, yeah. I'll keep it more. I'll keep it simple. He's gone over 1,000 yards 5 times. He's gone over 100 receptions 5 times. He is 1 touchdown shy of 50 touchdowns on his whole career. 3-time Pro Bowler. 1-time Comeback Player of the Year award. I'm going to give Ben a little bit more of a hint before I even show the graphic and I even ask him. I think this guy, without a doubt, no doubt, it's like surefire, the most underrated player in the NFL. He does not get his credit. He does not get his dues. And you think of slants, you think of comebacks, you think of him, curl routes as well. And as I mentioned, the list can just go on and on. He's got his total career, 730 catches in 9 seasons, 8,535 yards as well. Ben, do you have a guess for who it is?
I got a guess. I'm going to throw Aiden's first in there, too. It's Aiden's throwing in Cole Beasley. I don't think it's Cole Beasley. Cole Beasley's. Then we got Tim Brady in there from Jeff. That's a good guess, Jeff. But I'm going to go Jarvis Landry.
Jarvis Landry? Okay, that's kind of.
That was a little bit. I was good up until you said the comeback player, and that's what kind of threw me off. That's when I was like, who is that now? So I'm going to stick with my Jarvis Landry guess. I know it's wrong, but listen, you got to stick with the gut.
I think they have similar play styles. I like this guy a little bit more. The most underrated player in the NFL is Keenan Allen.
I
love him.
Should know with the slants.
Yeah, the slants, the curls. Dude, I didn't even know. Talk about not even just 5 1,000-yard seasons, but 5 100 reception seasons. And every single time, besides his rookie year, actually, no, I lied. He was 3 shy of 100 receptions in 2018. But talk about reliable, talk about longevity, talk about availability. That's him. He is the most underrated player in the NFL. I had to finish it off with him.
Mad at myself. I couldn't get that one, Josh. I should have known with the slants. I didn't know he won comeback player of the year. So I gotta do my research on that one. I totally forgot about that. But Keenan Allen, one of the best. Huge. I mean, for one of Josh's other predictions, he's going to have a huge help to Justin Herbert's season. So, and vice versa, Herbert to Allen. So, I mean, watch out for Keenan Allen drafts as well if you want a solid player over there. This one's going to be a future. It's not future underrated, but I think this season's going to prove that he hasn't been utilized the right way over where he's been. And it's going to prove that he's been underrated. Everyone's going to guess, but I got Evan Ingram, tight end. He's over in Jacksonville. I know people are going to say, what are you talking about? He stinks. Got Doug Peterson over there. Doug Peterson was known to use tight ends massively over in Philly. He loves that. He loves using them over there. Got a young quarterback in Trevor Lawrence who's going to need somebody like that to depend on. Evan Ingram's still young, still talented. He just got a tough draw over there in New York with Daniel Jones. And, he obviously had that Saquon madness in the beginning. They're just running the ball. So I think he's going to get a nice little second chance over here. I think this year is going to prove that he's underrated. I'm not saying, well, I am saying he's underrated now, but I'm gonna put it out there. I'm gonna say he's going to have an underrated season and the fantasy flair. Like I mentioned, that Doug Peterson used. Watch out for him if you need a late tight end. Trevor Lawrence needs a safety blanket, and I think he's going to step up big time. And Giants stink too, so I mean it's tough. Tough to be good over there.
The potential's been there. He's one of those football players who's got the size, got the hands, got the athletic ability, but never was quite able to kind of piece it together. That's probably because of, the Giants being a revolving door for quarterbacks and just issues. I think he's overrated, so that's a good one. Like you said, my initial thought, he's overrated. But hey, this is what the show's all about. It's about our opinions, underrated, overrated. Hey, if he bounces back this year, has a great season, like Ben said, we'll see. Maybe he has an underrated year. Just to answer Jeff's question, where was it? He said, can you pull up Keenan Allen's last year stats, having an argument about him with Borky right now? I'm sure Ben might know the insider name of Borky.
Yeah,
but
that's Croissant Man on Twitch, if anyone's seen Croissant Man.
Hey, we've been looking for him. Croissant Man, we're looking for you. 2021 stats. Look at this. I mean, just a stud. Played 16 games, pretty much the whole season. 106 receptions. Listen to this, Jeff, closely. 106 receptions, 1,138 receiving yards, in 6 receiving touchdowns, an average of 10 yards per catch. Just super reliable, consistency. Nothing crazy. He's not flashy. He's not your, he's not your Justin Jefferson. He's not your Devontae Adams, your Cups. Actually, he's similar to play style to Cup, but he doesn't get his due. He doesn't get his, what's the word for it? His cookie. He doesn't get his cookie, his banner. So had to throw him up on there. Overrated, I'm pretty sure, in terms of the, and we got Jeff coming in here before we go up. To be clear, Borky said there was no way he had 100 catches. And a fan of him. I may or may not have thought he was the number 7 receiver last year. He's went over, according to StatMuse, he's went over 100 receptions.
3 straight years, yeah. 5, I mean, since 2017.
4 times, I'm sorry, 4 times.
Yeah.
4 times. But
since 2017, Josh. I mean, even 2018, he had 97. So I mean, listen, if we're pulling straws, he was right there too. So he still had a really good year there. So I'm a little confused. Keenan Allen. So yeah, Keenan Allen's been a solid guy for many years. So that was a great one from Josh. Very underrated. No one gives him any credit.
But yeah, well, we're gonna switch things up. We're gonna go overrated here. We'll shoot through these a little quick. Not a little quick. We'll take our time, actually.
These guys are overrated, Josh. Yeah, these guys are overrated, too. We don't need too much time. Yeah, I'm going to start it off, Josh. I'll go first. Josh Jacobs. Overrated. Get this guy out of here.
Zach, cover your ears.
Yeah, sorry, Zach. It's just, it's a crowded backfield right now for them. They've got Amir Abdullah and Brandon Bolden over there. Those guys are going to take sort of the receiving work and sort of creep into those carries, too. Zaire White and Brandon Brooks have had a really good preseason for them. A couple rookies out there. One of them is going to get cut. It's most likely Brooks. But White's really impressed them, so he's going to take some carries too. Yeah, I think just that whole offense is just passing him by right now. I mean, the addition of Adams, they're going to throw it. You assume the passing is going to get a little more uptake over there, and he's lost. Yeah, well, listen. All right. Well, that's your opinion. That's hey, listen. Everybody likes Josh Jacobs. I was going to say avoid him in fantasy too for these reasons as well. But I think it's just sort of passing him by right now. People still think he's good. Trust me. But no, come on. Josh Jacobs, overrated. I'm sorry. It's just time's passing by now. The young guys are coming in, and that Raiders offense is just improving without him right now. It's tough to see. I loved him as a player, but I'm gonna have to go overrated with him right now, even though some people might disagree.
I love it. I love it. Drafted him a couple of years ago. Just hasn't really been the same since his rookie year. I like Eden. Ben doesn't like him when he says, just listen. Just listen.
Just listen. Yeah, why does he got to put that in? That's his opinion. Listen, people Zach loves Josh Jacobs, so we got some people out there that still believe in him.
It's fair. Zach is probably one of the most, loyal fans guys out there. He's talk a little bit about blind love for him when it comes to players. This guy is the most overrated. I'm just gonna hop right into it. The most overrated. Let me rephrase. The most overrated drop back. Coverage safety in the league. Dallas wanted him. I wanted him. He is a straight, just in the box safety. Cannot do anything other than that. Ben, I'm pretty sure you already know who I'm going to get to, so I'll save a little bit of the suspense. But that is Jamal Adams. I like him a lot. I lost a little bit of faith. Last year he had 2 interceptions. Whoop-de freaking do. I've watched this guy get torched multiple times. He's got a bunch of tackles. He's racked up a lot. But overall, I think he's a little bit of a detriment to that team. A little bit of a hothead. Got to talk about flair. He's got a lot of that. I think he would fit well with Dallas, but not for that price. He's getting paid grossly way too much. You look at Justin Simmons and you look at him. Jamal Adams' name's mentioned way more. I think that's an issue. And I strictly put him on here because he's mentioned more than Justin Simmons. I know that diehard football fans and like the real Broncos fans and Jacob would like that one. They know the value and the true respect that Justin Simmons deserves. But this guy, Jamal Adams, I was all in on him, and now I've really taken a couple steps back. I think he's a little overrated. And, as I mentioned, and I really believe this, is the worst secondary, cover guy, probably one of the worst in the league. He cannot cover very well. Pass cover, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. No, he's just got that hit stick. It's just pretty much that. And at this point, it was sad, I thought he was going to be pretty good. LSU product. Shout out Dylan for that. But, this didn't work out. Seattle put a lot into him, and like Josh mentioned, just way too much money. Looking at what Justin Simmons is getting paid, just not worth it. This one will be quick too, Josh. I already mentioned them. I kind of just wanted to stress this a lot. Amari Cooper, he's overrated. Another guy passing him by. Cleveland's just not the offense for him right now. We'll see with Deshaun, but I even think with Deshaun, I think it's just over for him. Saw what people thought of him with the rounds, with the sort of draft pick offerings for him. Nobody was going to go too crazy for him on that one, not give him too much. I just think he's getting too old for the game and everything. I really just don't like the Cleveland situation for him. I know he doesn't have any say in the Deshaun thing, and we got to see how Deshaun comes back and plays, but I just don't like Amari Cooper, the situation where he's heading to, unfortunately. That's Josh's guy, too. Listen, I liked Amari. No hate from me on him on that regard, but it's just overrated now, unfortunately.
It's fair. I thought he was great in Dallas. I know a lot of people have thought that he's overrated. Production. He's gone missing. Huge thing. He checks out mentally very much. So we'll probably see that a lot this year. This is a guy I think's overrated. I'm thinking Madden. They had this guy was way too high on the NFL players list. I know it's the players who voted. Way too high. Another defensive player. His stats don't really jump out to me. Just looking at him. Another LSU guy. Dylan loves this guy. He loves him. This guy got paid big money this offseason. I think Jair Alexander is a tad bit overrated. Last year he had a pick. The year before that he had one interception. In terms of yardage allowed last year, he in his career-wise, he's very average. He's an average corner in terms of the yards that he's allowed. He's not like a shutdown guy by any means. I don't think he's really that playmaker that you've seen. He has 5 interceptions in 4 seasons. That's solid, but as much as we talk about him, as high as his Madden rating is, and as high as he was up on that NFL players list last year, I don't think he was quite that impact that everybody else has and everybody thinks. I don't know. I think he's a tad bit overrated. He's still a young player, but a lot of money, a lot of money. And I know people can even say Diggs is overrated. I'm here for that discussion, but I think Jair is just a tad bit overrated.
I don't know about that one, Josh. That one might be the first disagreement. I don't know if he said he was from LSU too. He's actually Louisville. Louisville is where he's from.
Okay.
Louisville, yeah. Little ACC shout out right there. But listen, that might be the first one I gotta go back on. I gotta look at the stats for him. But Josh might disagree with me on this one because I believe he said this player was underrated at some point during this podcast. Maybe just in general talk. He's probably got Cortland Sutton. Overrated. I really don't see what everyone loves about this guy. Maybe fantasy could be, but I mean, you still got Jared Judy there, KJ Hamler. They drafted, so they like that guy. But I don't know. Every time I see people just get hyped up for him and everything, I just don't see the stats to back it up. He doesn't really. I know he's got Russell Wilson now, so it's the true test. But the stats just don't back it up for me. And every time he's supposed to go off and he's supposed to be doing this and that, he just never produces. So I got him an overrated. I know people are going to be in disagreements with that one. This is going to be a big season for him to prove me wrong on this one. But Josh, I got him as overrated right now. I think you said he was underrated. I thought you might have said you liked him at some point, maybe. Somebody did.
I do like him. I did say that. I said that for the draft. I like him a lot. I know he's had injury concerns. Has been the thing.
Yeah, that's another one right there. Just not my cup of tea, Josh. I just don't know. Just the stats aren't there for me. Everyone keeps telling me to believe in him, and I just can't right now. So I got him an overrated. Hopefully, you can prove me wrong this year.
This one is a guy I think. If you know me well, I think he's overrated. He plays the quarterback position. He is a former MVP. I think that already is a tell.
Yeah.
Been in the league for 4 years. And last year, his stats, only played 12 games. He threw 16 touchdowns and 13 picks. I think this guy is a true testament of just living off that 1-year MVP year. It's Lamar Jackson. He is the most overrated player in the NFL in my eyes. A lot of people squawk. They don't like it. Oh, my God. Are you kidding me? Look at his touchdown to interception ratio. He's great. He's got a quarterback rating of almost 99. Yada, yada, yada. Look at him. This guy, he thinks he's got the drip. He has no drip in the playoffs. He's 1-3 in the playoffs. People talk about my boy Dak Prescott. Same thing. Actually, you know what? Let me just further my point here even more. No, I'm nothing to do with Dak, but let me just further my point even more here with Lamar Jackson. He, in the playoffs, let me just mind you, he has 1 playoff win. Arguably, if you go back and watch some of those games, he has actually been a detriment to his football team. I think this guy is the definition of a regular season hero. I think guys like him and Kyler Murray, it can't work. I like Kyler Murray a little bit more. Maybe that's because I have this real bias towards Lamar. But I know Kyler Murray hasn't really proven anything. But let me just read one thing to you guys. For playoffs, he's got a passer rating in 4 games, mind you. 4 games. He's played 4 playoff games. That's a pretty decent sample size. He's got a passer rating of 68, 3 touchdowns, 5 interceptions played in those 4 games. Last year, he threw 2 picks in the playoffs, no touchdowns. Passing yards are pretty heavy, but I think this guy is the definition of overrated. I think he is easy to expose. I do think you can make the argument that they haven't provided him with a lot in terms of receivers, but I wouldn't pay him. I wouldn't do it. If you pay him, that's fine, but the longevity's not going to be there. We've seen it. Regular season hero until he proves me otherwise. It's just the eye test. He's a flashy player. He's like the closest thing we've really seen to Michael Vick since Michael Vick. So I think people get a little... I've heard some crazy things. We've never seen anything like this. We have...
Yeah.
Maybe I'm a hater, but Mr. Overrated in my eyes. The most overrated player in the NFL.
I love to hear it, Josh, just from the Steelers' perspective. So I'll definitely agree with you on that one. There, but I'd still listen. I'd still take Lamar. Starting franchise and everything. I still think kind of gets screwed for that playoff record, but it's a good little debate right there with Lamar. Who's overrated in that one? I know that's gonna trigger some people with that one, Josh. We got some Kyler Murray fans out there. I like Kyler Murray too, but those guys definitely are teetering on that overrated scale. They got to prove themselves in the playoffs. I mean, they're still young, Josh, but can eventually prove it.
I think too, one thing that I can say to kind of refute the the Lamar Jackson thing is at least Lamar Jackson's played a full season. Kyler Murray is 2 years in a row now has really fanned out after the midway point. We've seen that happen. I think I do. Not that I'm really ready to discredit that style of play, but we've seen it happen. We've seen Dak get hurt. I know he's even different, but it just makes me really nervous the way they play. I think the only real person who I think to this moment can really sustain it is Josh Allen, and I guess that's even another question for itself. How long can he sustain that for? But yeah, just 2 guys who really are. I mean, at least Lamar Jackson has the MVP to kind of land on. That season was a very great season, so he has that. But playoffs got a quick smack of reality. The league shrinks, players get exposed, and that's what happens. Mr. 1-3 in the playoffs. Call Dak Prescott all you want. Same thing for him.
You gotta call them out too, Josh. You gotta treat everyone the same.
That is true, and that's why I've been so weird on the Cowboys. Quickly, I'm just gonna speaking of them, I know the Patriots got rid of Devin Asiasi. I don't know what the hell's going on there. I think we all knew that was we all knew he sucked anyways. He stinks. Yeah. Tough luck if you're a Pats fan. Another just prime example of somebody who got drafted way too early and Bill Belichick just didn't know what he was doing. I digress. Overall, Dallas, quick key points, because like I said, we're not going to be here for the first week of football. We're going to, kind of a shock, I know it stinks, but we'll wrap. That's going to be probably all football when we're back. A whole football definitely needs to be dedicated to just football episode when we're back. But I will say, just to wrap it up with my Cowboys, we're going into the season with 1 quarterback. I think that's going to change. I know they dropped Cooper Rush and Will Grier. We've seen them do this before. I think Cooper Rush should make it back. That should happen. And Dallas's big key here, the motto they're riding with, and I guess the thing I, as a fan, blindly should trust, and that's youth. They believe in their defense. They believe in their secondary. They believe in their receiving core, and especially the receiving core, and they're just going to ride right into this season believing in what they've got in their youth, Ben. Right. So we'll see. 9 wins is first thing that comes to mind, but maybe I'm wrong.
I like that from the Cowboys. And you got to just emphasize that youth, especially in that defensive side, I should say. Oh, and that defensive end. That's tough positions. I guess they still got DeMarcus Lawrence, so Cowboys are fine on that one, but you got to find some youth at that position for that, man. Diggs, like you mentioned, people are saying, is he overrated, underrated? Listen, I think he's just let's just see what kind of year he's going to have after that crazy rookie year. I don't know if it's going to be up to that same standard. But listen, if you give someone of that caliber of a year, I think he's going to be fine. I think he's going to be a great pro. Micah Parsons is a beast. So I think the Cowboys are on the up and up. The 9 wins is, like you said, Josh, looking there. I got them still in the division, even though that Tyron Smith injury was really kills me. And I've said watch out for the Eagles after now. I said I might have said the Eagles got to the division now. But I was a little hasty right there. I'm still going to go with the Cowboys. That Smith injury kills them, but they're going to have to see something from the rookie. I forget what the rookie's name, Tyler Smith or something. There we go. Yeah, I mean he's got some penalty concerns. So I know we might get thrown into the fire right there, but hey, sometimes that helps him learn a little better. Steelers. This is an easy one. Listen, we gotta see what we got out there against the Bengals. I mean, on paper it looks good. We got some good weapons. Deontay, Claypool, George Pickens is great out there so far. You got Muse, Najee in the backfield. And Calvin Austin's a sneaky little wide receiver. He's a speedster for us over there. He hasn't been creating too much noise, but we just gotta see what we got out there. It's the first year without Big Ben and since 2003. So I mean, it's a very strange year for us. Gotta see that. So I'm excited to see that week 1 against the Bengals. See how if we can take down the new Kings of the North with the Bengals. We gotta give it to them. They won the division. So, and I think the most interesting team, Josh, to have us 3 is the Patriots. We gotta see what the Patriots are gonna do. Mac Jones getting flustered. Is it because of the no offense coordinator? Is it because of this sort of lackluster offensive performances we've seen? Sort of just all this confusion going on with him, who's calling plays, what's going on with that. So I'm excited to see what that is. What comes out of that defense. A little shaky too at some point. So excited to see what that. That's not good, Najee. Thank you, Marianne. That's not good for Najee, but hopefully that's just just a little injury bug right there, but just top that off. I want to see what the Cowboys would do. I want to see what the Steelers do, but unfortunately, most interested in the Patriots. Let's see that Miami week 1 matchup. So it's going to be an important game for them just to tell how that season's going to go so far, Josh.
Couldn't agree anymore, Ben. I think all eyes are kind of on New England because, I feel like that's the most uncertainty, I guess, because we kind of know what's going to happen with Dallas. It's the same thing in the Steelers. We're not expecting so much bridge year, although it could surprise you. I mean, Trubisky has been really good. I know it's only preseason, but he's looked pretty sharp. And yeah, from what I heard on the Marianne comment here before we wrap up, I read, because I did see something after I drafted him. It said he should be fine for week 1, but he is a little banged up. So I need him just as much as you guys need him. That was my second overall pick. Second round pick. I had the 10th pick. It went Snake. So Ben knows.
That's pretty good, Josh.
But to wrap it up here, just want to say thank you to everybody for joining. And I'm going to finish it with what about them, Cowboys? What about them is going to happen next? Because the Tyron Smith thing has me so frustrated, and you're not going to see us until after week 1, so prove me frickin' wrong, Dallas. I'm going to finish it like that. Prove me wrong.
Yeah, as always, thank everyone for listening and joining. Listen, Josh is already going up the wall with the Cowboys, so we're going to stick to this season as they can watch Josh have the Cowboys frustrate him and the Steelers frustrate me too. So it's pretty fun watching us get frustrated by those two franchises. They tend to do it. So it's going to be interesting to see those two, but thank you for everyone watching. Hey, go Cowboys, go Steelers, but what's going to happen with the Pats, Josh? That's what I'm looking forward to.